Good day everyone. In this video, I will discuss yung third and final topic natin for midterms. So as you know, we already discussed yung intro to stat and yung descriptive stat. So ngayon, ang i-discuss ko naman in this video is inferential statistics. Okay. So the topics under inferential statistics are tatong lima. Una is hypothesis and hypothesis testing, correlation and causation, t-test, ANOVA, and Pearson's correlation coefficient, and of course, yung mga subtopics under them. So let's start with hypothesis and hypothesis testing. When we say hypothesis, it is just an assumption that attempt to explain the recognized problem. So sabi dito, attempt to explain. So why do we call it just an attempt to explain the problem? And sabi din dito, recognized to explain the recognized problem. So minsan kapag tayo ay may nakitang problem, most of the time or sometimes nakikita natin yung possible reason or explanation why that problem happened. But then if kung ano lang siya, kung sasabihin lang natin na sa tingin ko ganito ganyan yung cause ng problem. Kung hindi natin itetest yung hypothesis natin using yung mga test statistics natin, eh, ibig sabihin, yung attempt natin to explain the problem is still an unproven explanation. It's still a guess. Yun. So that's why we do hypothesis testing. So consider the scenario. Basahin ko muna. There is a monthly community meeting led by barangay officials. During one meeting, the officials offered childcare and noticed that attendance was higher than usual. So it is tempting to conclude that offering childcare caused the increase in attendance. However, the change could also be due to other factors such as a more convenient meeting day, fewer schedule conflicts, better weather, or simply random chance, or nagkataon lamang. So let's explain the scenario. So isa-isahin natin. So sabi dito, meron daw monthly community meeting. Tapos one time, nag-offer ng childcare and nag-offer ng childcare yung barangay officials. And they noticed that yung attendance is higher than usual. So, it is tempting to conclude na siguro because nag-offer sila ng childcare, kaya tumaas yung attendance. However, there could also be other reasons. Kagaya ng, halimbawa, yung mga previous meetings nila ay maulan, therefore mababa yung attendance. O kaya naman, yung previous meetings nila, maraming kasabay na events, kaya mababa yung attendance. So, maraming possible reason. That's why we need to test the hypothesis so that medyo confident tayo kung ano yung conclusion natin. Kung yung conclusion ba natin is that kung mayroong significant difference between the attendance or not. And so that's why we use or why we test hypothesis. Some other time kasi, it is just because of random chance. Ay, nagkataon lamang talaga. Yan so yun yung sinusukat ng hypothesis testing. Okay, so there are two types of hypothesis. Una is null hypothesis and the second one is the alternative hypothesis. Ang null hypothesis, it represents the possibility that there is no significant difference or there is no significant relationships between the variables. Right? So sabi dito, between the populations that you are interested in. Di ba pag nagre-research tayo, usually, sample lang naman yung ano natin, kina-calculate yung mga mean, standard deviation, mga t-test, etc. Pero ang purpose nga ng inferential stat is to make a conclusion about the population using the sample. And kaya nakalagay dyan between the populations you're interested in. So, ang null hypotheses argues that any differences are due to chance. And so, nagkataon lamang daw yung sinasabi ng null hypothesis. Or that the two groups are same. Same, no difference. Although sabi dito, there is no significant difference. Most of the time naman kasi, meron namang difference. Okay, merong difference. The problem is, yung difference na yun ba ay significant for us to conclude that a significant change will happen. Yun. So, minsan naman kasi may difference naman talaga. Halimbawa, mean. Yung mean ng isang group is 1.56. Tapos yung mean ng another group is 1.48. Okay. So may difference yan, obviously. But the question is, significant ba yung difference given the uh, kung ano man yung mga minimeasure ninyo. Okay. So yun yung sinasagot or in-state ng null hypothesis that there is no significant difference or no significant relationship. So examples. Meron dito tayong dalawang example. Yung unang example, sabi dito, there is no significant relationship between a person's age and wealth. So meron tayong dalawang variable, age, pangalawang variable, wealth. Sinasabi dito sa example na to, meron bang relationship? Ibig sabihin, pag tumaas ba yung age, tataas din ba yung wealth? Or pag mababa ba yung age, mas tumataas yung wealth. Okay, so yun yung tinatest dito. Pangalawa naman, pangalawang example, there is no significant difference between the means. Okay, yung sinusukat naman dito ay yung pagkakaiba ng dalawang groups. Meron ba silang significant difference? For this example, ang kino-compare ay control at saka experimental group. Meron bang pinagkaiba yung dalawang group na yun? Okay. So, decision, kapag tayo ay may null hypothesis and then tinest natin yung null hypothesis, so dalawa lang yung possible decision. So, isa lang pala yung possible decision. And it's either of these two. Pwedeng we reject the null hypothesis or we fail to reject the null hypothesis. Anong ibig sabihin ng mga yan? When we reject the null hypothesis, ano ba yung null hypothesis? Di ba sabi natin, okay, so when we reject the null hypothesis, sabi natin, null hypothesis states that there is no significant relationship. Meaning, when we reject null hypothesis, we say that there is a, okay, kapag nireject natin yung nagsasabi na there is no significant relationship, ibig sabihin, ang pinapaniwalaan natin or yung result ng research says that there is a significant relationship. Yan. Kapag naman fail to reject, minsan may mga research kayong mababasa na instead of fail to reject yung nakalagay, ang nakalagay ay accept and accept the null hypothesis. However, may mga books na nagsasabi na wag daw sasabihin na accept the null hypothesis. Yun. So the better word to use is fail fail to reject the null hypothesis. When we say fail to reject, ibig sabihin, according to the result ng mga test statistic ninyo ay it shows that there is a it shows that there is no. Okay, so wala talagang significant difference. Okay, so kapag reject the null hypothesis, ibig sabihin there is a significant difference or relationship. Whereas sa fail to reject, ibig sabihin ang findings ay there is no significant relationship. Okay, so wait lang, ginagamit pala natin yung H subscript 0. Okay, so 0 tong nasa baba para as a symbol for null hypothesis. Sa alternative naman ay H subscript A or minsan 1 yung ginagamit. So alternative hypothesis, it represents the assumption that the intervention made a difference. So, bakit tayo may alternative hypothesis? Kasi yung tinetest talaga natin sa research is the null hypothesis. Ngayon, if the null hypothesis is rejected, then we use the alternative hypothesis. Okay, so again, ang tinetest natin sa research is the null hypothesis. It is the one being tested, yung null hypothesis. Kapag na-reject, edi yung gagamitin na nating hypothesis, the alternative hypothesis. Example ng alternative hypothesis, basahin ko na lang. Sabi dito, there is a significant difference between the group that received the physical therapy and the one that did not. Okay, so sabi dito, there is a significant difference. Okay, so null versus alternative hypothesis. So the common types of research design, so usually na research design na makikita ninyo or mababasa ninyo ay dalawa lang. Una, comparing the means. Pangalawa, testing the relationship or correlation. Yun yung common. Of course, may iba pa, pero ito yung common. Okay, so para dito sa comparing the means, so sabi dito, yung null hypothesis says that the mean of the first group is just equal sa mean ng second group. In other words, there is no difference, significant difference. Para naman sa alternative hypothesis, kapag nagko-compare tayo ng means, ang sinasabi lang dito is that the mean of the first group is not equal to the mean of the second group. Yan. Pagdating naman dito sa testing the relationship between variables, anong itsura ng null hypothesis for this scenario? Sabi dito, the first variable or V1 does not have significant relationship with the second variable. Alternative hypothesis naman, when testing correlation, V1 or the first variable has a significant relationship with the second variable. Okay. Okay, so let's try to formulate null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. So meron tayo ditong tatlong examples. Papakita ko muna sa inyo kung paano ginagawa using this first example. So basahin muna natin. A local NGO offers a financial literacy program to low-income families. Financial stress scores are compared between families who completed the program and those who did not, 1 month after the program ended. Okay. So, sabi dito, meron daw local NGO. Ngayon, nag-offer sila ng program. Yung program na yun is called the Financial Literacy Program. And then, after 1 month, or after 1 month after the program ended, pinuntahan nila yung mga families na nag-complete ng program and also the families who did not complete the program. And then, sinukat nila yung financial stress scores between the families who completed the program and those who did not. So, anong gagawin natin to formulate the null hypothesis? So, sundan nyo lang tong step na to. Step 1, identify the variables. Identify the variables. Ano yung pinag-uusapan natin dito? So, ano ba yung pinag-uusapan natin dito? Una, sabi dito, nung financial stress score daw, yun yung ino-compare between the families. Therefore, ang ating first variable dito is yung financial stress score. Okay, kasi yun yung kino-compare, yun yung mini-measure. Again, variable, ano yung mini-measure? Okay. So, since yun yung mini-measure natin between the families who completed the program, therefore, isa yun sa variable natin. Ano naman yung pangalawang variable? Ang pangalawang variable natin, or ano ba yung difference between the families? Ang difference lang ay yung nag-complete at saka did not complete. So, yun. For our second variable ay attendance dun sa financial literacy program. Okay, so second variable is attendance. And dalawa lang yung sagot dyan. Nag-attend or na-complete yung program or did not complete the program. Yan. Pag na-identify nyo na yung second variable, tingnan nyo naman kung determine niyo kung ano yung ginagawa ng study. Determine if causation or correlation. Tingnan ninyo, ano ba yung sinasagot ng study? Dinadetermine ba nito na yung financial literacy program caused na bumaba yung financial stress score? Or ang dinadetermine lang ba nito ay the higher the the higher the attendance, the higher the financial stress score, or the higher the attendance, the lower the financial stress score. Okay, so ano yung ginagawa dito? Nagko-causation ba tayo or correlation ba yung hinahanap natin? Okay, so for this particular example, yung ginagawa dito ay causation. Kasi kino-compare natin kung pag nag-complete ba ng program, mataas ba or mababa yung financial stress score. Okay, so for this particular problem, yung ginagawa natin ay causation. Oh, bakit natin kailangan i-determine kung causation or correlation? Kasi it will be used para sa formulation natin ng hypothesis. Okay, so ngayon, nagawa na natin steps 1 and 2. Ngayon, magpo-formulate na tayo. Formulate H naught and alternative. Okay, null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. So for our null hypothesis, since causation yung ating study, so pwede nating sabihin na there is no significant difference between the financial stress scores. Okay, no significant difference between the financial stress scores. Yan. So, ito. There is no significant difference in the financial stress scores of families who finished the financial literacy program from those who did not finish the program. Ayan. So, yun na yung ating null hypothesis. And for the alternative hypothesis, hindi tatanggalin lang natin itong no. Sabihin lang natin na there is a significant difference. Yan. Kakopyahin lang yung mga yan. Yun. So, nakaka-formulate na tayo ng null hypothesis. And then, yung null hypothesis na yung itetest natin sa hypothesis testing. Okay, so may another examples dito. Ito. And ito. Okay, so try to answer it on your own. Okay, next, hypothesis testing naman. So, again, inferential statistics is used to test hypothesis. Ano ulit yung tinetest natin? Specifically, hypothesis na null hypothesis yung tinetest natin. So, it's specifically yung inferential stat daw is used to establish a level of confidence or how confident are you about the result or that a difference you observed is due to the independent variable you are testing. So, ano itsura ng confidence level or levels of confidence? So, usually, yung mga confidence level nagre-range siya ng mga 99%, merong iba 99.99, yung iba 98%, yung iba 95, yung iba 90%. Okay, so ibig sabihin, the lower the percentage, edi the lower your confidence about the difference. Okay. Ang pinaka-common ay 95 or 98%. Ito yung pinaka-common. Okay. So meron tayong tinatawag na significance level. significance level or yung alpha natin. Ang alpha natin is yung kabaliktaran nito. Okay, so halimbawa, sinabi natin na yung confidence level natin is 98%. Okay. Ibig sabihin, yung alpha natin, yung kabaliktaran niyan, which is 100 minus 98 is 2% or 0.02. Ngayon, anong ibig sabihin nitong 2%? Okay. Ang 2% is yung percent na willing tayo na i-risk to say na to reject the null hypothesis or gaano mo tinotolerate yung risk ng type 1 error. Okay. Ano ba yung type 1 error? Ang type 1 error ay false positive. Ibig sabihin, kinongclude mo na merong significant difference when in fact, there is no significant difference. Okay, so that's a false positive. Okay. So common test on inferential statistics ay t-test, chi-square test, ANOVA, and Pearson's R. So ang i-discuss ko lamang in this lecture ay yung tatlo, t-test, ANOVA, and Pearson's R. Ang chi-square test ay ginagamit kapag categorical yung data. Okay, so categorical. Para sa t-test, ANOVA, and Pearson's R, numerical yung mga data natin dyan. Okay, so kung magre-research kayo tapos categorical yung data ninyo, edi gamitin nyo ay chi-square. Okay. Ayan, type 1 error. So, ang type 1 error daw occurs when you conclude that there is a difference when there is none. Okay, so, ibig sabihin, halimbawa, nag-research kayo, tapos, nag-statistical analysis kayo. Tapos, according to your statistical analysis, meron daw significant difference. Okay. Ang type 1 error nag-occur kapag you claim that there is a difference pero wala naman talaga. Kaya we call this false positive finding. Ibig sabihin, yung difference na nakita nyo, it is just really due to chance. Nagkataon lang talaga. So, for example, you are testing an antidepressant and find that the people who took the medication have lower levels of depression. However, in reality, the difference was just due to chance. Okay, type 2 error naman. Type 2 error occurs when you do not find a difference when there actually is a difference. Ibig sabihin, after ninyo mag-statistical analysis, according to the result of the statistical analysis, you did not find a significant difference. Pero, meron naman pala talaga. So, yung type 2 error, minsan hindi nyo na yan marirealize habang nag-statistical analysis kayo. Syempre, hindi nyo yan agad marirealize. Marirealize nyo lang yan kapag, halimbawa, in-implement nyo na yung research ninyo. Tapos, ay, false negative pala. Yun. Kaya nga, meron tayong threshold lamang, yung significance level. Ibig sabihin, kung babalik tayo dito, ibig sabihin, kapag ang sinet natin na alpha or significance level is 1%, ibig sabihin, tinotolerate lang natin yung 1% error. Yun. So, ibig sabihin, the higher or the lower, again, ibig sabihin, the lower the alpha, ibig sabihin, the smaller the percent or the chance na of committing type 1 error. Okay. Okay, so let's compare type 1 tsaka type 2 errors. Okay, so kapag daw null hypothesis is true. Okay, so ito yung reality. Ayan, reality. After na to nung ano nyo, after nyo na nag-research, tapos you find that in actuality or in reality, the null hypothesis is true. Tapos ang ginawa ninyo, ni-reject ninyo yung null hypothesis, ibig sabihin, you commit a type 1 error. Okay, ulit. Kapag in reality, okay, kapag in reality, wait lang, burahin ko lang to. Oh. Kapag in reality, the null hypothesis is true, meaning there really is no significant difference. Tapos, yung decision ninyo is you rejected the null hypothesis, meaning you commit a type 1 error. Or sinasabi ninyo na may difference when in fact there is none. Okay, so you just commit a type 1 error. Okay, so ano naman ibig sabihin nitong part na to? Okay, so kapag ang null hypothesis is true, meaning there is no significant difference. Tapos, ang decision ninyo is you did not reject the null hypothesis. Ibig sabihin, yung decision ninyo is correct. Yan. So, yun yung ibig sabihin na 'tong table na 'to. Okay. So, dito naman tayo. Kapag naman null hypothesis is false, meaning in reality, there really is a significant difference or meron talagang significant difference. And then, you rejected the null hypothesis. So, ni-reject ninyo yung null hypothesis meaning tama yung decision ninyo. Okay. Pero kapag yung null hypothesis is false, ibig sabihin, in reality, meron talagang significant difference. Pero ang decision ninyo is do not reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis. Meaning, nag-commit kayo ng type 2 error or false negative. Akala ninyo walang difference, yun pala in reality ay meron. Okay, so kung medyo naguguluhan kayo dito sa explanation na to, ulitin nyo na lang tapos try nyo i-explain using your own words. Okay, so para mas maintindihan ninyo yung type 1 and type 2 errors, basahin natin to. Okay, so ito ay The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Okay, so basahin ko. Meron daw, boy, basahin ko na nga lang. So, he ran down the hill to the village. Tapos, help, help. Sabi nung isang villager, what's the matter? Tapos sabi niya, come quickly. A wolf. A wolf has come out of the forest. So, everyone ran up the hill with him. Tapos yung iba nagmamadali pa kasi meron silang alagang sheep. Tapos, di pagod na pagod sila, puffing and panting. They reached the meadow. Umakyat sila dun sa hill. Tapos, there is no wolf pala. Ay, walang wolf kasi nagsisinungaling lang pala yung boy. Tapos nagalit yung villager. Sabi niya, all that way for nothing. Tapos, yan yung boy, tumawa na lang siya kasi niloko niya yung mga ano. Okay, so, and then a few days later, a wolf did come out of the forest. Did come out. May dumating talagang wolf. Ayun o, yan yung wolf kung nakikita ninyo. Yan yung wolf. Yan, so may dumating na wolf. Tapos ngayon yung bata, tumawag na ulit siya ng tulong sa villagers. So, punta siya doon sa villagers. Tapos, nobody believed him. Sabi ng isa, do you think we're so stupid? Yan. Tapos, yan, sabi niya, I promise you, there's a wolf. So, you have to come help. Tapos, yung mga villagers, ayaw na nila maniwala. Kasi nga, yung unang instance, naniwala sila, tapos yung pala wala. Tapos, nung pangalawang instance, few days later, meron na talagang wolf. Tapos ngayon, hindi na naniniwala yung mga villagers. Okay. So, ngayon, tingnan natin yung ano. Balikan natin type 1, type 2 error. Okay. So, null hypothesis is there is no wall. Walang wall. Alternative hypothesis, there is a wall. Ano yung possible decisions ng mga villagers? Pwede silang mag-respond. Ibig sabihin, aakyat sila dun sa hill. Or ignore. Ibig sabihin, hayaan na lang nila yung bata na magsisigaw-sigaw. Yun. So, yun yung possible decisions. Either respond. Kapag nag-respond sila, ibig sabihin, they reject the null hypothesis. Ibig sabihin, hindi sila naniniwala that there is no wall. Or in other words, naniniwala sila na may wall. Okay. Kapag in-ignore naman nila, ibig sabihin, in-ignore nila yung null hypothesis. Ibig sabihin, hindi sila naniniwala na there is, ibig sabihin pala, fail to reject pala to, sorry. Fail to reject the null hypothesis. Ibig sabihin, they claim that there is no wall. Yun. So, villagers do not respond. So, kung mapapansin niyo, pag ang villagers nag-respond dun sa wolf, tapos there is no wolf, ibig sabihin, false positive yung nangyari. Okay, akala nila may wolf yung pala wala. So that's false positive. Pag naman, villagers did not respond to the boy, tapos meron palang wolf, ibig sabihin, they just committed a false negative. Ibig sabihin, meron talagang wolf, pero yung decision nila ay hindi sila naniwala na meron. So that's a false negative. Okay, so sana malinaw na yan. Okay, so next topic, correlation versus causation. So familiar na kayo dito kasi na-discuss na to dun sa chapter 1. Okay, so when we say correlation, correlation is a statistical measure expressed as a number that describes the strength and direction of a relationship between two or more variables. So pwede tayong mag-correlate ng two or more variables pero one at a time lamang. Okay, halimbawa meron tayong variable 1, variable 2, variable 3. Okay, so pwede natin silang i-correlate pero one, pair by pair lang. Ibig sabihin, una muna V1 and V2, tapos V1 and V3, tapos V2 and V3. Okay, so pair by pair yung comparison. Pero pwede tayong mag-test ng more than two variables sa correlation. Okay. Sa causation naman, causation indicates that one event is the result of the occurrence of the other event. This is also referred to as a cause and effect relationship. So dito sa causation, meron tayong independent variable that cause the dependent variable or one thing to happen. Right? So for example, sabi dito, smoking causes an increase in the risk of developing lung cancer. Meaning, for this example, ito ay causation. Kasi, may nakita naman kayo dyan, smoking causes an increase. For this, another example, smoking is correlated with alcoholism, but it does not cause alcoholism. Ibig sabihin, correlated. So, ito ay correlation. Okay, so tingnan pa natin yung correlation. So, again, correlation is a statistical term that measures the degree to which two events or variables are related. It shows both the strength and the direction. Pag sinabi nating strength, gaano kalakas yung relationship. Pag ba konting increase nung isang variable, mataas yung increase ng another variable and so on. Dito naman sa direction, ang mini-measure naman dito, pag ba nag-increase yung isang variable, nag-i-increase din yung isang another variable. Or kapag ba nag-increase yung isang variable, ang mangyayari ba dun sa isang variable ay magdi-decrease. Okay, so direction, pakaliwa or pakanan. Okay, so meron tayong types of correlation in terms of direction. So positive correlation yung tawag natin kapag yung isang variable nag-increase and then the other variable also increase. So that's positive correlation. Okay. Pwede rin naman na one variable decreased and then the other variable also decreased. And positive correlation pa din yan. Negative correlation naman kapag magkaiba sila ng direction. One variable increase, the other decrease. Yan. So, pag magkaiba ng direction, negative correlation yan. Zero correlation naman kapag variables are unrelated. So, hindi mo makita ano ba yung direction. Wala kayong makita. Therefore, not correlated yung mga variables. Okay, so ito kapag rinaf natin using scatter plot, so ganito yung itsura ng negative correlation, pababa. Pag naman positive correlation, pataas. Kapag naman no correlation, sabog. So, wala tayong ano dyan, direction. Okay, so in terms of strength naman, okay, pag in terms of strength, meron tayong mga numerical values dyan na sinet according dito kay Evans 1996. Okay, so minsan magkakaiba yung ano. So depende na lang sa reference ninyo. Okay, so tingnan natin. Kapag daw yung na-compute ninyo na correlation coefficient ay 0 hanggang 0.199, yung strength ng correlation ninyo or relationship is very weak. Ibig sabihin, mahina lang. Ibig sabihin, doesn't really show significant ano. Kapag naman 0.2 to 0.399, merong relationship pero weak. Tapos 0.4 to 0.599, moderate correlation. And 0.6 to 0.799, strong. And then 0.8 to 1, very strong. Yan. So, ang correlation natin, nagre-range lang siya ng 0 to 1. Okay. Pag strength yung pinag-uusapan natin. 0 hanggang 1. Yan lang yung possible values ng correlation coefficients. Pero, yun yung mga absolute value. Ngayon, kung babalik tayo dun sa relationship, kapag negative relationship, edi baliktad lang. Ayun, discuss naman. Yan. Okay, titest naman. Kapag sinabi nating t-test, it is a test statistic used to determine whether there is a statistically significant difference between two groups. Okay, so sa t-test, dalawa lang na groups yung kino-compare natin or dalawang ano lang, instance. Okay, so may tinatawag tayong dependent at saka independent samples t-test. For dependent or minsan ang tawag ay paired samples. So sa dependent or paired samples t-test, ginagamit natin ito kapag yung same participants lang yung tinetest natin. Ano ibig sabihin ng same participants? Ibig sabihin, halimbawa meron kayong 10 o 5 na lang. Okay, 5 participant or respondents. Sabi natin ito yung participant or sample size. Okay, tapos yung participant, tapos yung mineasure ninyo sa kanila ay halimbawa yung example natin kanina, age, saka yung kanilang wealth na naka-declare halimbawa sa BIR. Okay. So ngayon, kung same participant, ayan, same participant being tested, so yung age ni ay sorry, nangyari. Ay, so halimbawa yung age ni participant 1 tsaka yung wealth niya, yun yung kino-compare ninyo, eh di paired samples t-test yung gagamitin ninyo na t-test. Ayan, so halimbawa ng mga paired samples t-test, halimbawa nagme-measure kayo ng pre-test tsaka post-test of the same group of people, hindi gagamitin ninyo ay paired samples. Halimbawa, measuring stress before and after an intervention for the same people, set of people. Another example, same participants under two conditions. Halimbawa, measure nyo yung stress kapag online class. Tapos, measure nyo naman ulit yung stress kapag face-to-face class. Okay, so same people, two different conditions. Another example, measurement methods for the same variable. So, same variable yung measure ninyo, pero different method ng pagte-test or pagme-measure. So, halimbawa, gusto nyo i-measure yung same variable, pero using paper survey, tapos yung another method, mobile survey. Yan. So, titingnan ninyo, may difference ba yung variable using different measures. Okay, so same variable pa din. Kaya paired samples pa din siya. Okay, for independent sample t-test naman, kapag differences between two separate groups are examined. So magkaiba na yung group na ina-examine natin. So participants are being tested only once, as that is, each participant contributes only one score. Okay, so isang participant, isang score lamang yung tinetest. Unlike dun sa dependent sample t-test, isang participant, dalawang scores yung kinocontribute niya. Okay, so the scores in one group do not affect the scores in the other group. Independent samples yun. Okay, examples. Common studies where independent samples t-test are used. So, ito una, treatment versus control. So, halimbawa, nag-compare kayo ng two groups of participants where one group was given a treatment while the other group, no treatment. Okay, so dalawang groups na yan, different set of participants, therefore, independent samples t-test yan. Another example, kapag nag-compare kayo ng male and female, o kaya naman ay urban and rural. Another example, comparing groups in a single location, for example, ay client satisfaction between two offices of the same government agency. Halimbawa, nagpunta kayo sa PSA ng Calapan at saka PSA ng Batangas. Yan. So, magkaiba pa din sila na offices. So, independent samples test pa din yan. Okay. Next naman, how to interpret a test statistic. So, meron tayong tinatawag na t-value. Ang t-value natin, it refers to the value that the researcher calculated from the dataset. Okay, so yung t-test, sorry. So yung t-value, yung ating kinakalculate from the dataset. Anong gagawin natin sa t-value na yun? So yung t-value, kina-compare natin yun sa critical value. Pero basahin ko pala muna to. So it measures the size of the difference between group means. So larger t-value indicates a greater, more significant difference between the group. Pero kapag yung t-value ninyo ay near zero, ibig sabihin yung mga malalapit sa zero, kagaya ng 0.001, 0.01, so on, the difference is small. Okay, so meron tayong tinatawag din na t-critical. Ang t-critical naman, it refers to the values that can be found in the t-distribution table. So meron tayong t-distribution table. Makikita nyo itong t-distribution table dito. Ayan. Pwede nyo yung i-click, tapos i-open yan yung browser ninyo para makita yung table. Okay, so yung t-critical, kukunin nyo yan dun sa table. It serves as a cut-off point on the t-distribution that helps us decide if the t-test result is significant or not. So, yun na yung gagamitin natin for our decision whether to reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis. Okay. So, paano ninyo magagamit yung t-distribution table? So, may kailangan lang kayo malaman yung degrees of freedom. So, para sa t-test, ang degrees of freedom natin can be computed using n minus 1. N being the sample size. Halimbawa, nag-survey kayo ng 10 people. Therefore, yung n ninyo is 10. So, minus 1. 10 minus 1 is 9. Ibig sabihin, kung ang sample size ninyo ay 10, ang degrees of freedom ninyo ay 9. Okay. So, ano yung decision rule natin? Kapag yung t observed or yung nakalculate ninyo na t or yung t value is greater than the t critical, ibig sabihin, you will reject the null hypothesis. Okay? Sample. Okay, so, ito yung screenshot mula dun sa pinakita ko na, ayan, yung t-distribution table. Okay, so ito yung screenshot. Okay, so tingnan naman natin kung paano ba ginagamit ang distribution table for t-test. So, unang step dito is to determine kung ano yung degrees of freedom ng iyong study. So, formula natin for degrees of freedom for t-test ay n minus 1. Meaning, let's say na nag-study kayo, tapos 25 ang inyong sample size. So, ano yung DF ninyo or degrees of freedom? So, that is just 25 minus 1 or 24. So, nasan yung 24? Di ba ito yung column natin for degrees of freedom? So, hanapin natin dyan, nasan yung 24? Nandito. Yan. So, ngayon, identify nyo na yung degrees of freedom. Ang next nyo naman i-determine is kung ang study ba ninyo is two-tailed test or one-tailed test. Ano ibig sabihin ng two-tailed? Ano ibig sabihin ng one-tailed? Pag sinabi natin two-tailed test, two directions. Okay, ay, not specified. Kapag two-tailed test, direction is not specified. Anong ibig sabihin nun? Ibig sabihin, halimbawa, the mean of control group is statistically different from the mean of the second group. Okay, sinabi ko lang na magkaiba. Pero hindi ko sinabi kung yung direction. Ibig sabihin ng direction, mas mataas ba or mas mababa ba? Okay. Dito naman sa one-tailed test, ang direction is specified. Ibig sabihin, halimbawa, nagko-compare kayo ng dalawang group, experimental tsaka control. So, pwede kong sabihin na, or halimbawa, ang null hypothesis ninyo ay the mean of the control group is lower than the mean of the experimental group. Since na-specify na ninyo yung direction, sabi niyo yung lower, edi one-tailed test yung ginagawa ninyo. Okay. So, ngayon, kapag halimbawa sabihin natin na two-tailed test yung ginawa ninyo. So, ang titingnan ninyo ay itong nasa taas na column. So, itong nasa taas na column, yan yung significance level or yung alpha. Okay, so halimbawa, ang sinet ninyo na alpha ay 1%. Okay, so nasan yung 1% ng two-tailed test? Ito yon. Okay. So, ngayon, nag-compute kayo ng t ng t-test. Tapos, yung nakuha ninyo na t-value ay equal sa, let's say, 2.65. Okay, so yan yung na-compute ninyo na T. Ngayon, so tingnan natin, ano yung T critical? Kasi ito yung inyong T value. T value, ano ngayon yung T critical? So, sundan nyo lang. So, nandito tayo sa alpha ninyo na sinet is 1%. Tapos, nasan yung 24? Yan. Ito yung 24. Meaning, yung T critical is 2.797. Eh, ano yung rule natin? Ang rule natin, kapag yung T observed or yung T value, ito yung T value na tinatawag natin, yung kinompute ninyo, ay mas malaki sa T critical, then we reject the null hypothesis. Okay, according to sa example natin, ano yung mas malaki? T value or T critical? For this particular example, mas maliit yung T value compared sa T critical. Sa T critical. So, anong gagawin natin? Eh di, fail to reject. Okay, therefore, para dito sa particular example, the decision is to fail to reject. In other words, there is no significant difference between kung ano man yung tinetest dito. Okay, so ganun yung pagbabasa ng t-distribution table. Okay, next naman is analysis of variance or yung tinatawag natin na ANOVA. So, ang ANOVA or analysis of variance is kagaya ng t-test, nagdedetermine if merong difference between the mean. Okay, so causation pa din yung tinetest dito. The difference is that ang t-test, dalawa lang yung group na minimeasure natin. Sa ANOVA, we can measure more than two. Okay, so kung halimbawa ang groups ninyo ay 3, 4, 5, and so on, so ANOVA na yung gagamitin ninyo. Okay, so ANOVA tests are used to determine if a statistically significant difference exists among three or more groups. Okay, so three or more groups na yung kino-compare natin dito. So meron tayong two types, one-way ANOVA or two-way ANOVA. Para sa one-way ANOVA, it allows you to determine if a difference exists among three or more means. Sometimes this is called simple analysis of variance. Simple lang kasi ang tinetest lang natin is isang independent variable. Tapos yung effect nandun sa different sa dependent variables. Okay, so example, do National Achievement Test or yung NAT scores differ for low, middle, and high income students? Okay, so intindihin natin tong example. Ano yung independent variable kaya natin dito? Ang independent variable natin dito ay yung low, middle income student. Ibig sabihin, tatanungin ninyo, magkano yung salary ng parents ninyo or magkano yung income ng family ninyo. Tapos, ano yung dependent variable? Ang dependent variable dito is yung NAT or yung score sa exam. So, basically, yung tinatanong dito sa example na to, kapag ba malaki yung income ng parent, mataas din ba? Pag mataas ba yung income, ay mataas din ba yung NAT scores? Or kapag mababa ba yung income, mababa yung NAT scores? Okay, so ngayon, yan yung ating tinetest. So, one-way ANOVA siya kasi three groups of interest but only one independent variable. Isa lang yung independent variable, which is the income. Sa two-way ANOVA naman, it allows us to evaluate the effect of two independent variables and the interaction between them. Sometimes this is called a factorial design. So, ano ibig sabihin nun? So, sabi dito, meron daw two independent variables. So, sabihin natin IV1 at saka IV2. And of course, merong dependent variable. Isa. Ngayon, ang mini-measure nito ay, una, yung independent variable 1 at saka yung dependent variable, ano yung kanilang relationship. Pangalawa, yung independent variable 2 at saka yung dependent variable 2, meron ba silang, ano yung kanilang effect sa each other. Pangatlo, yung independent variable 1 at saka yung independent variable 2, meron ba silang effect sa isa't isa. Yun. So, yun yung mini-measure kapag two-way ANOVA. Kaya nga, dito sa one-way ANOVA, simple ANOVA lang yung tawag natin dito. Okay. Sa two-way, yun na yung mini-measure natin. Okay, example, do SAT scores differ for high school students based on income level and ethnicity? So, mapansin ninyo, ito po na yung independent variables natin dito. Una ay income level, pangalawa ay ethnicity. Ano naman yung dependent variable? Dependent variable is yung SAT. Okay. So, how do we interpret ANOVA naman? So, meron tayong dalawa na dito na degrees of freedom na pinag-uusapan. Yung una is itong nasa left side. So, itong 3, it signifies yung between groups. Pag sinabi natin na between groups, ibig sabihin, kung meron tayong 3 group, halimbawa, group A, group B, group C, so between groups. So, A and B, pinagkaiba nila, B and C, ano pinagkaiba nila, A and C, anong pinagkaiba nila. Okay. So, formula natin para makuha itong T na to ay K, K is yung number of group minus 1. Okay, so yun yung formula para dito sa unang DF. Para sa pangalawa namang DF, okay, barin ko lang to. Para sa pangalawang DF naman, yung N or yung population size, pag sinabi naman natin na population size, hindi naman population ng buong kung ano man mini-measure mo na barangay, kundi yung buong ano lang, ito yung group A, B, C. So, halimbawa sa group A meron kang 10 sample size, sa group B merong 10, sa group C merong 10. Okay, so yung N natin dito is yung kabuuan nila, which is 30. So 10 plus 10 plus 10 is 30. So yung DF natin dito ay minus K. Ano naman yung K? Number of groups. So DF natin for this example ay 30 minus 3. Therefore, 7 yung DF na ilalagay dito. Okay, so ganun yun. Ano namang ibig sabihin nito? Eto naman yung na-compute ninyo na ANOVA. Tapos yung p-value ay yung na-compute ninyo na yung p. Pero hindi na muna natin yung masyadong pag-usapan. Okay, so usually naman kapag dito sa pag nagko-compute tayo ng mga test statistic, kapag kinompare natin doon sa distribution table, kapag merong significant difference, usually yun na din to, significant ano na din, pasok na din yung p-value. So hindi ko na yan i-discuss. Okay. So, sa ANOVA, gumagamit din tayo ng table. So, actually, ito lang din yung naka-attach dun sa t-test. And so, ganun din yung decision rule natin pagdating sa ANOVA. Dito nga lang, F yung natin, yung tawag. Diba dun sa t-test ay t-value. Sa ANOVA, F value. Okay, so ganun pa din, same sa t-test. Kapag mas malaki yung na-compute kaysa dun sa critical, i-reject yung null hypothesis. Okay. So, paano natin ginagamit yung distribution table? So again, ganun pa din, identify pa din natin yung mga DF. So ito yung mga DF natin for groups. Yung DF equals K minus 1. Okay, tapos yung ito naman, ito yan ha, ito. Tapos ito naman yung df ng n minus k. Okay. So, gamitin ulit natin yung example. Halimbawa, meron tayong 30 na yan yung gano'ng kadami lahat ng sample size dun sa 3 groups A, B, C. Tapos yung k natin, since 3 groups, edi 3 lang yan. So, ang df natin para dito ay 27. So, kulang pala yung ano ko. Sabihin na lang natin na, ah, sabihin na lang natin na 20. Okay. So, kung n is 20, sabihin natin 21. Kasi nga 3 groups, tapos sabihin natin na 24 na lang. Sabihin natin 24 kasi kada group may 8. Okay, so that's 3 times 4, 3 times 8, 24. Okay, so ano yung DF natin para dito sa side na to ay 24 minus 3, that is just 21. So ito yung column na titingnan natin. Tapos, para sa dito naman, A natin is 3 minus 1. Therefore, itong column na to yung titingnan natin. Kasi 3 minus 1 is 2. So, yan. So, ano yung, matitingnan nyo pala, dito pala sa ano, ang alpha natin dito ay 0.05. Right. Ang alpha natin dito ay 0.05. Ngayon, kung ang alpha ninyo ay 0.1 halimbawa, di another table yung tingnan ninyo. Okay, so dito, let's just say na alpha ninyo is 5%. So, nasan yung 21? Nandito, tapos nandito sa column na to. Therefore, ang F critical ninyo ay 3.47. So, ganun pa din, kung ano yung na-compute ninyo na F value, ko-compare nyo yon dito. Pag mas malaki yung F value kaysa sa F critical, edi reject null hypothesis. Yan. So, again, ito yung ating decision rule. Ito. Yan. Okay, so meron tayong tinatawag na post hoc test. Ibig sabihin, after this in Latin. So, ang post hoc test is a test conducted after completing an ANOVA to determine which group was driving the statistically significant results. Kasi nga, di ba meron tayong, halimbawa, three groups, A, B, and C. Ngayon, ang tinetest sa ANOVA ay at least one group is statistically different from the other group. So at least one group. Ngayon ang question, anong group? Group A ba yung different from B and C? Or group B ba yung different from A and C and so on? Yun. So ngayon para kung halimbawa dun sa ANOVA test ninyo, nakita nyo na merong significant difference. Therefore, you will proceed to the post hoc test para ma-determine ninyo aling group yung may statistical significant result. Okay. So halimbawa, nakita ninyo na A is statistically significant from group B and C. Yan. So meron tayong common post hoc test. Ito yung, pinaka nagagamit pero siyempre depende yun sa itsura ng research ninyo. So, meron tayong Tukey's, HSD, Bonferroni, tsaka Gibbs-Howell. Yun. So, kapag equal variances, Tukey's ang gagamitin. Kapag conservative adjustment, Bonferroni. Kapag unequal variances, Gibbs and Howell. Okay, so that's it for ANOVA. Ngayon naman, magpo-proceed tayo sa Pearson's correlation coefficient. And so, ang buong pangalan ng Pearson correlation coefficient ay Pearson product moment correlation coefficient. Ang nickname naman niya ay Pearson's R. Okay, so Pearson's R na lang yung tawag natin dyan. Ginagamit natin yung Pearson's R kapag the data is parametric. Ibig sabihin, it follows the normal distribution. Ibig sabihin, wala masyadong mga outliers. Pangalawang assumption, data is interval or ratio. Meaning, numerical dapat yung data kapag ang ginamit ninyong statistic ay Pearson's R. Pangatlo, linear lamang yung relationship. Pang-apat, correlation is between two variables at a time. Ibig sabihin, halimbawa, nag-measure kayo ng, let's say, four variables. Okay, example, measure kayo ng four variables. Sabihin natin variable W, X, Y, and Z. Ngayon, ang ginagawa nito ng Pearson's R, correlation between two variables at a time yung minimeasure. Ibig sabihin, ang tinetest nyo dito ay halimbawa four variables. So, ilang relationship yung tinetest ninyo? Una, relationship between W and X. Pangalawa, relationship between W and Y. Pangatlo, relationship between W and Z. Pang-apat, relationship between X and Y. Pang-lima, relationship between X and Z. Pang-anim, pang-anim ay relationship between Y and Z. Yan. So, kung may apat kayong variable, ibig sabihin nagtatest kayo ng anim na relationship. Yun. So, ito yung formula natin for Pearson's R. So, kung mapapansin niyo wala akong binigay na formula for t-test tsaka ANOVA. Kasi ang kailangan nyo aralin doon is how to interpret yung mga research at saka how to interpret yung result. Pero dito sa Pearson's R, magko-compute tayo dito sa klase at saka sa exam. So, ito yung formula natin for Pearson's R. Again, yung N stands for the sample size. Ilan yung inyong in-study. Tapos, kapag may nakita kayo na ganito, ibig sabihin ay summation. Yan. So, paano natin interpret itong formula? So, again, PEMDAS. So, iisa-isahin natin yan. So, ibig sabihin, halimbawa dito, kunin ko lang. Okay. Halimbawa dito, meron tayong N times this quantity. So, ano ibig sabihin yan? So, ibig sabihin, multiply muna tayo ng X tsaka Y. Ay lahat ng X tsaka lahat ng Y pag multiply natin. Kapag nakuha nyo na yung sagot niyan, kukunin nyo naman yung sum. Okay, pag nakuha nyo na yung sum, saka ninyo i-multiply sa N. Okay, so nakuha nyo na yung itong buong to. Move naman tayo dito. Dito naman, kukunin nyo lang yung sum ng lahat ng X. Tapos, kukunin nyo din yung sum ng lahat ng Y. Nakuha nyo na yung sum nilang dalawa, magmumultiply nyo naman. So, dito naman, ganun ulit, kukunin nyo muna yung, i-square nyo muna lahat ng X. Pag na-square nyo na lahat ng X, i-add ninyo yung lahat ng X squared. Tapos, i-multiply sa N. Okay, so kapag nakuha nyo na yan, ma-minus nyo naman ito. Ibig sabihin naman ito, kapag nakuha nyo na yung mga sum ng lahat ng X, kagaya ng ginawa ninyo dito, tsaka nyo siya i-square. Okay, so magkaiba yung, ay sorry, magkaiba yung ito sa dito. Yung pinagkaiba, dito nag-square ka muna bago mo pinag-a-add silang lahat. Dito naman, pinag-add mo muna lahat ng X, tapos tsaka ka pa nag-square. Okay, so kapag nagawa nyo na to, kukunin nyo yung difference nila, tapos dito naman. So ganun ulit, kukunin nyo yung square ng lahat ng Y. Pag nakuha nyo na yung squares, saka nyo i-add. Tapos, multiply sa N. Tapos, dito naman, kukunin nyo lahat ng summation ng Y, which is dapat nakuha nyo na dito. Pag nakuha nyo na yun, i-square nyo lang. Okay, tapos minus. Tapos, pag multiply silang dalawa, ayan, multiply. Tapos, saka ninyo kukunin yung square root. Okay, so, anong kailangan nyo lang makuha dyan? Yung kailangan nyo lang ma-determine dyan ay N, tapos summation ng pag pinag-multiply yung X and Y, tapos summation ng X, summation ng Y, summation ng kapag in-square nyo ang X, and summation kapag in-square nyo yung mga Y. Okay, so pinag-aralan naman na natin yung standard deviation. So, parang ganun lang din yan. So, pwede kayong gumawa ng tables. Halimbawa, nandito yung X ninyo, nandito yung Y. Yan. Tapos, dito nyo ilagay yung X squared. Tapos, dito nyo ilagay yung Y squared. Okay. So, halimbawa, bigyan ko kayo ng example. Halimbawa, kapag ang X ay 1, 2, 1, 3. Tapos, ang Y halimbawa ay 5, 7, 6, 9. Okay. So, ano yung X squared? Square nyo lang yung 1. Therefore, X squared is just equal to 1. Tapos, 2 squared ay 4, plus 1 squared ay 1, tapos 3 squared ay 9. Okay. So, y naman, y squared. Ito naman tayo. 5 squared ay 25, 7 squared ay 49, 6 squared ay 36, 9, 9 squared ay 81. Okay. So, ngayon, kukunin natin yung mga summation nila. Therefore, para makuha natin yung, wait lang. Ay, Okay, so para makuha natin yung kulang pa pala ng ano, ay sorry, kulang pa ng xy. Ayan, anong gagawin dun sa xy pag multiply niyo lang? So, dito, 5 times 1, ito, or 1 times 5, that is just 5. Tapos, 2 times 7, that is just 14. 1 times 6, 6. 3 times 9, 27. Okay, so kunin natin isa-isa. So, ano yung n natin dyan? Ang n natin ay 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, apat. Ano naman yung summation ng x times y? Summation ng product of x and y. So, kukunin lang natin yung sum nito. So, ito ay 25 plus 27, that's 52. Kung hindi ako nagkakamali. So, ilalagay natin dito ay 52. Ito naman, summation ng lahat ng x. So, ito yun. 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 3. So, that is just 7. Okay, so 7 yan. Ngayon naman, summation ng mga y. So, 5 plus 7, 12 yun. Plus 6 is 18, plus 9, 27. Okay, summation ng lahat ng y's ay 27. Ano naman summation ng x? Summation ng squares of x. So, yan ay 1 plus 4, then ay 15. Ito namang summation ng squares of y. Yan ay 25 plus 49. Wait lang, madami-dami to. So, yun ay 10, 21. Carry 1, 2, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, plus 8, 19. So, 191. Okay. So, paano na natin yan gagawin dito? Paano natin siya ipa-plug in dito sa formula? So, meron tayong n, which is 4. Meron tayong to, tong summation ng product of x and y, 52. Ma-minus daw natin sa dito, sa pag pinag-multiply natin yung summation ng x, tsaka summation ng y. So, ito yun, tsaka ito. So, that's 7 times 27 divided by, dito na tayo, square root ng, kapag pinag-multiply natin yung 4, tsaka summation ng squares of y, which is 15, times, minus pala, minus summation, summation of x and then squared. So, ito yon. Tapos, square. So, that's 7 squared. Okay. Minus, hindi pa pala minus, multiply pala tayo, times, eto, nandito na tayo. Sana hindi kayo masyado naguguluhan. Ang n natin is 4. So, yun ay 4 times summation of the squares of y. Ito yung summation of squares of y natin. So, yun ay 191 minus ito kapag in-square. Kasi etong part na to, ito lang yon. Meron pa tayong square. Kaya yung 27, i-square natin. Yan. So, yun. Kukunin nyo lang yan, tapos solve, makukuha nyo na yung Pearson's R. Okay, so pwede nyo naman yung gawin sa Excel. Ito yung manual process. Pero aralin nyo yan kasi gagawin natin yan sa classroom. And also sa exam. Tapos, eto, pag sa Excel. So, di ko na to ituturo. Basahin nyo na lang kung gusto ninyo. Okay, so paano naman yung interpretation? So, ngayon, kapag ang na-compute ninyo na R ay malapit sa 1, positive 1, meaning strong positive. Okay, kapag R ay malapit sa 1, positive 1, strong positive relationship. Kapag naman malapit sa negative 1, okay, strong negative relationship. Kapag around 0, positive man or negative, wala siya masyadong linear relationship. Okay, so meron din tayong critical values of R. Makikita ulit natin yun sa table, pwede niyong puntahan ito, paste niyo lang sa browser niyo para makita ninyo. Tapos, ganito ulit yun. So, DF natin, pag Pearson's arm pinag-uusapan is n minus 2. So, ilan ba yung inyong in-study? Halimbawa dun sa example natin dito. And dito, ilan yung n natin dito? Apat lang. Kasi, ito lang yun, yung 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 pairs. Okay. So, para doon sa example natin, apat lang. Therefore, ang DF natin is 2. Kasi 4 minus 2, 2. So, ito yung titingnan natin. Itong row na 'to. Tapos, ano yung sinet ninyo na alpha? Oh, yun. So, pili na lang kayo kung ano yung sinet ninyo na alpha. Tapos, yun yung mga critical values. So, ganun pa din yung ating dito. Kapag yung R value is greater than the R critical, ganun pa din. Diyan pa din natin i-reject, ay sorry, i-reject ang null hypothesis. Okay. Okay, so tingnan natin tong example na 'to, basahin ko. A high school teacher wants to test if there is a correlation between students' skills in reading comprehension and solving math problems. She collected test scores from 20 students. Reading comprehension and math problem solving tests are both scored out of 100 and used Pearson's R at significance level of 0.02 to analyze the score. So, unahin muna natin ano yung ating null hypothesis. Okay, so meron tayo ditong variables. Ang variables natin dito ay, una, reading comprehension scores, and dito na lang pala. Okay, so una ay reading comprehension scores and math problem solving scores. So yan yung ating dalawang variables na tinetest. Okay, so ano yung ating null hypothesis? So sabi natin, identify variables. So nagawa na natin. Pangalawa, identify or determine kung correlation or causation. So Pearson's R yung kinukuha, therefore correlation yan. So ano yung ating null hypothesis? Pwede nating sabihin na there is no significant relationship between reading comprehension scores, reading comprehension scores, and math problem solving score. Okay, so yan na yung hypothesis na itetest natin. So ito daw yung scores ng 20 students. So si student number 1, 52 siya sa reading, 63 sa math, and so on, 1 to 100. Okay, so yan yung student number 1, tapos meron tayong 20 students. Okay, so nung kinuha yung Pearson's R, ang nakuha ay between reading and math, ang Pearson's R ay positive 0.9361. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Tsaka ito. Okay, so etong 1 na ito, correlation ng reading tsaka reading. Pareho lang yun, therefore 1 yan. So, wala talaga yung masyadong kabuluhan. Ito naman, itong 1 na 'to, correlation ng math score tsaka math score, kaya 1. Ibig sabihin perfect correlation kaya kasi nga parehong-pareho sila. Pero wala naman yang meaning, nilagay lang siya sa table. Ito naman, kaya ito blank kasi yan ay correlation ng math score tsaka reading score. Ay ano ba yan? Ito lang din yan. Yan, so kaya hindi na siya nilagay. Okay, so pinaliwanag ko lang yung table. Okay, so question. Is the relationship between reading and math score positive or negative? So based on the result, ang answer natin dito is positive relationship. Meaning, pag tumaas yung isang score, tataas din yung another. Question, is it weak, moderate, or strong? So babalik tayo dun sa table na pinakita ko sa inyo para malaman natin kung yung relationship ba is weak, moderate, or strong. So ang score is 0.9361. Ngayon, nasan dito 9361? So nandito siya sa very strong. Okay, so ang sagot natin dito ay very strong. Ngayon, i-compare nyo pa ito dun sa ating R critical. So ano nga muna yung DF natin dito? Ang DF natin is n minus 2 kapag Pearson's R yung pinag-uusapan natin. So, balik tayo. DF is, ilan yung N natin? 20. So, 20 minus 2. So, DF natin is 18. Ano pang kailangan natin? Yung alpha. Sabi natin, yung alpha natin dito ay 2% or 0.02. So, alpha is 2%. Okay. Tapos, yung R, R value natin ay 0.9361. So, titingnan natin yung R critical. Okay, so tandaan natin to. Balik tayo dito. Okay, so DF natin is 18. Ang alpha natin is 2. So, dito tayo titingin sa column na to. Therefore, ang R critical ay 0.516. So, kailangan yung makompute natin na R value is greater than R critical para masabi natin na merong significant difference. Okay, so, ang ating R value is 0.931. Therefore, we can say that there is a significant relationship between the reading comprehension and problem solving. And the relationship is very strong. The relationship is very strong positive. Yun. So, yun yung answer dito sa third question. Last question, does this prove that reading causes math skill? So, the answer here is we don't know. So, no. Kasi, cause, ang sinasagot lang ng Pearson's RI correlation. Okay, so the answer for that question is no. Okay. So, reminder lang that Pearson's R measures linear relationship lamang. Pag sinabi nating linear ay yung kapag inano natin, enough natin, ang itsura ng variables ay pag ganyan. So, it doesn't answer yung mga relationship na pag ganito yung relationship. Kaya nga, kapag bago kayo mag-Pearson's R, gawa muna kayo ng scatter plot. Yan, yung scatter plot yung pinakita ko sa inyo kanina, yung ganyan. Yan. Yan. So, kapag ganyan, yung naging graph, so pwede na kayo mag-proceed sa Pearson's R calculation. Okay. Ano naman yung simple linear regression? So, when the Pearson's correlation analysis reveals a linear relationship between the variables, then a simple linear regression model can be developed. Okay, so kapag nag-compute daw kayo ng Pearson's R, tapos nakita nyo na meron linear relationship. So, pwede kayong mag-develop ng regression model or linear regression model or equation. So, meron tayong tinatawag na simple linear regression analysis. It aims to develop an equation. Okay, so equation. Ang ating simple linear regression model is an equation. Okay, that predicts the future values of the dependent variable given the values of the independent variable. So, this equation is called the simple linear regression model. So, yung model na yun is ito. Sabi natin yung simple linear regression model is an equation. So, ito yung equation na tinutukoy natin. Where y hat, is in y hat, yun yung predicted value of the dependent variable. Yun yung pinipredict, hinuhulaan. Ang a is the slope of the regression. Tapos, yung x is the value of the independent variable. Ibig sabihin, magsaset tayo ng value ng x. Tapos, halimbawa, x is 1.5. Ano yung magiging value ng y hat? Yung predicted value. Yan. So, ganun siya. Tapos, intercept is v is the intercept of the regression. So, paano makuha? So, atong x, and kayo yung nagde-decide niyan ano yung gusto nyo ilagay dyan. Yung a, kinocompute siya gamit to. Yung b, kinocompute gamit ito. Okay. So, example. So, basahin ko. The following data shows the preliminary grades and final grades of sophomore students who enrolled last term in a statistics course. So, meron daw tayo ditong um, prelim grade, tapos final grade. So, ano daw yung relationship? Pag ba mababa sa prelim grade, mababa din sa final grade, and so on. Tapos, ang gusto nating malaman, halimbawa, yung student gets a grade of 90. Ano yung predicted final grade niya? So, yun yung sinasagot ng linear regression model. Okay. So, meron tayo ditong 12 students. Tapos, yun yung kanilang mga prelim score. So, si student number 1, 83 siya nung prelim, 87 siya nung final. Okay. So, paano yan gagawin? I-determine daw natin. So, kagaya ng ginawa natin sa Pearson's R, gagawa din tayo dito ng table. Okay. So, una, ito yung student number 1, student number 2, ito yung mga grades ni student number 1. X is yung prelim. Kasi X yung nilagay natin, dinesignate natin as independent. Kasi yun yung mas nauuna nating makuha, yung X. Tapos, titingnan natin kung ano yung magiging effect dun sa final grade. Okay, so sinaset natin dito na um, ang independent is yung prelims, tapos yung dependent is yung um, final grade. Okay, so ganun ulit. Ang kailangan lang natin dito actually is x squared at saka x times y. Okay, so 83 squared. So kukunin nyo lang dito 83 squared. Yan, tapos lalagay nyo dito. So gagawin hanggang dun sa pa-12 na student. Pag nakuha nyo na lahat, kukunin niyo yung mga summation nitong column na to, summation ng column na to, summation ng column na to, and summation ng column na to. Tapos, kapag nakuha nyo na yan, so kukunin nyo ito isa-isa. Okay, so, pero ito, kung mapapansin niyo may n siya sa unahan. Yung n natin is 12. Therefore, para makuha yung itong buong 'to, ito lang yung kinukuha natin, gagawin natin 12 times kung ano man yung summation ng product of x and y. Okay. So, puwede niyo yang i-try on your own. Hindi ko na iisa-isahin, pero ito yung solution niya. Okay, so try niyo on your own, tapos ito yung solution. So, gagawin din natin 'to sa long exam and sa midterm exam. Okay, so note lang pala sa ano, sa book kasi ninyo na-interchange yung ano, ayun, sa book ninyo na-interchange yung formula ng slope tsaka intercept. Okay. Kapag intercept kasi or kapag slope pala, meron silang n dito sa unahan, sa taas. Okay, so na-interchange dun sa book ninyo. Yan, i-che-check niyo na lang. Okay. Tapos isa pa, another ano, so yung A tsaka yung B natin is 'di ba variable lang 'yan. Ibig sabihin, yung y hat puwede yang maging sa ibang book, ganyan yung itsura. So, okey lang naman 'yan. Basta yung B, 'yan pa din yung slope. Okey, so kung binaliktad nandito yung B, eh, kung ano yung kadikit ng x, yun yung magiging slope, yung may n sa unahan. Okey. 'Yan, so try this on your own. Ito yung solution diyan. Tapos sa pagko-compute ng slope and intercept, ito again yung slope natin, ito yung intercept, 'yan. So ganito yung makukuha ninyo, 'yan. Kapag tinuloy ninyo 'yan, ang magiging value ng A is 0.929282. Ang value ng B is 6.4104. So paano natin 'yan gagamitin? So meron tayong ito yung original ano, equation. So magiging y hat equals ano yung value ng A? 0.9282 times x plus anong value ng v? 6.4104. So ito na yung ating model. Paano natin yan gagamitin? 'Di ba sabi natin yung y is the predicted value. Tapos yung x is yung independent variable value na gusto nyo i-test. So this time, ang x natin is 90. Yun yung prelim grade. Ngayon, gusto nating malaman ano yung predicted value para dito sa ano. So dito sa determine the regression line equation na gawa na natin, ito yon. Sagutin naman natin itong pangalawang question. If a student gets a preliminary grade of 90, what is the predicted final grade? So para makuha natin yan, 0.9282 multiply by 90 plus 6.4104. Sige, kunin ko lang. 0.9282 times 90 plus 6.4104. So ang sagot dyan is 89.95. Ibig sabihin, the predicted final grade of the student na may prelim grade ng 90 is 89.95. Okay, so that's how we do linear regression. Okay, so that's it for inferential stat. So take note lamang na meron tayong long exam sa August 10 to 15, 2026 during class hours kung ano yung schedule natin. And yung coverage ay simula sa descriptive stat and inferential stat. Okay, so kung may question kayo, pwede kayo mag-message sa akin. Yun lang.